Disclaimer, the following video is a lot more politicized than my normal content. Just be warned that the following are my opinions, and if you disagree with my opinions, that is completely okay. Without further ado, let's get into this.
Enfrentando arcabuces a piqueros, con el alma unida por el mismo clero, que la sangre corra protegiendo el reino.
Hello, my name is Alfonso. I am Spanish from Catalonia. I was born there. I currently live in the United States of America. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the independence movement in Catalonia. If you enjoy this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, why am I doing this? Well, I am from Barcelona, and I rarely ever see anyone actually Spanish talk about this on the internet, at least where I've dug. I always see that it's usually people who have never lived in Catalonia or Spain talk about these kind of things, and I kind of want to give my opinion on all that. If you disagree with my opinion, that is completely fine. Please make sure to let me know what you think in the comments. Now, let's get into the historical context. First, I'd like to summarize what Catalonia is. Catalonia is an autonomous region in the northeast of Spain, and the biggest city in that region is Barcelona. Catalonia has its own unique culture, language, and history. The language primarily spoken there besides for Spanish is Catalan or Català. The Catalan people were an integral part of the Crown of Aragon when it existed, and the influence of the Catalan people began to decline when Spain finally unified. On another note, when people say that Spain was unified, they mostly say that it was 1492. In my opinion, this isn't entirely true, as 1492 is simply when the Reconquista ended and all of Iberia was Christian. When Spain actually unified, I would say would be 1516, the ascension of Carlos I of Spain, the true first Habsburg ruler of Spain and the first to call himself as the King of Spain. And even then, the Crown of Aragon still had a lot of autonomy up until 1707, when that was stripped away, and this is when people usually like to say that the oppression of Catalan people truly began. Now, this is one of the rallying cries of people who are pro-independence, that the Catalan culture and language have been oppressed. And this is, to a degree, very true. However, I personally believe that people tend to over-exaggerate this fact. That is what I personally believe. Now, don't get me wrong, Catalan culture and language have been oppressed at points, but this was often in retaliation for Catalan rebellions. Catalonia has always been a very rebellious region in Spain, and it's had its reasons for that, but I'm not defending putting down Catalan culture and language, but I'm saying that this is possibly a reason as to why such laws were put into practice. This can also apply to another ethnic group in Spain, the Basque, who I will be talking about in a future video, and in my opinion have been more oppressed than even the Catalan. Now, back to the history. The modern Catalan independence movement began in 1922, but was repressed by Miguel Primo de Rivera, the dictator of Spain, the prime minister of King Alfonso XIII. Now, things really started to get heated during the Spanish Civil War, and during the Spanish Civil War, a lot of Catalan factions sided with the Republican faction, and the Republican government had promised that region autonomy. In fact, even in 1922, plans for Catalan autonomy were in the works. Now, a lot of Catalonia was occupied by the CNT, the anarchist faction during the Spanish Civil War, or at least one of them. And Catalonia was a Republican stronghold, especially Barcelona. Madrid was too, but less so. Barcelona was really a place for Republicanism to run rampant in Spain. And when the Spanish Civil War was over and Francisco Franco of the nationalist faction was victorious, the Catalan people were repressed. Now, this is something that even I, a self-proclaimed Francoist, can't deny, that the regime did inhibit on the rights of the Catalan language. Now, while I like Franco for a lot of the other stuff he did, this is the one area of his rule that I can firmly disagree with. The language was made illegal publicly and was relegated to more of a home kind of deal. In 1978, after the fall of the Francoist regime and the reinstatement of the Spanish monarchy, a new constitution was passed, and importantly, it gave the region of Catalonia autonomy. And the Catalan independence movement started to grow at this point with the growth in autonomy, and they had begun to take over the regional parliament. And they several times tried to change the rules of their autonomy to give them even more. And I'm all for Catalonia having autonomy, but I also think that unity amongst Spanish people is quite important. Now we move on to the 2017 elections, which were declared illegal by the Spanish government. And the pro-independence movement simply did not care and gave out ballots anyway. And this was illegal by the Spanish Constitution. It messed with the supremacy of the Constitution and undermined Spain's national unity. Now, here's the thing. If this was an actual majority of the population of that region, things would be slightly different. However, the thing is what the pro-independence of Catalonia likes to do is they like to over-exaggerate numbers and things like that. When the election went through with them, 90% of people voted pro-independence. However, less than half of the eligible voting population even attended the vote, meaning that even though there might actually be a higher percentage of people that didn't vote, it's obviously not a majority of the region if that was the result. Obviously, the people that wanted independence showed up and voted, and they won. But here's the problem. If only the minority want independence and the majority are either undecided or want to remain with Spain, then the independence movement is simply not viable. If the majority wanted to separate from Spain, things would be different. Most independence movements are illegal to an extent. I mean, just think of the United States. But to conclude my personal feelings, I think that unity among Spain's people is extremely important. And I think that letting the radicals that are in charge of the parliament, or were, I'm not entirely sure as to if they are or not, remain as the face of Catalonia is a very bad image, and I understand why people would want independence. I personally don't. And those people have right to their cause. I personally disagree, however. I personally think that people need to do what is best for the entire country of Spain. And Catalan people deserve rights to their language and culture. It's their language and it's their culture. And I am not opposed to that at all. I love Catalonia and I love Spain, but I don't want to see my country go through another war over things like this, because this has happened before. And those were tragedies, and we should try to look back on these and avoid things like this. And that is all I have to say. Have a good day, and please make sure to comment what you think. Have a nice one.
Qué bonito es el mar Mediterráneo, su costa brava y su costa del sol. La sardana y el fandango me emociona, porque en sus notas hay vida y hay calor. España siempre ha sido y será eterno paraíso sin igual. Por eso se oye este refrán: que viva España, y siempre la recordará. Que viva España, la gente canta con ardor. Que viva España, la vida tiene otro sabor, y España